Oh, just settle in. It's been a long time since I've done any of this.
Since podcasting.
Well, it has. It's been forever because
You're one of the part-time podcasters.
well, yeah, part-time podcaster, but it's not how I want to be because, but as I said before, the reasons I kind of stopped, cancelled guests, last minute things, which is like, well, now what do you do?
Yeah.
Just listen to me talk about fuck all for an hour, shall we? And then, so it was cancelled guests. Then my official sort of studio was being sold. So that put me on a bit of a downer.
Yeah.
Then all the COVID thing ramped up and I got ill again and I had to take time off work.
At one point, you just start to think, I'm just cursed now. It just doesn't want to
I
happen.
just couldn't be bothered, honestly. And I went on a bit of a downward spiral. Like I said, with buying shit, which felt like couldn't afford when, the uncertainty of income was rife. Yeah. So I felt like shit. Didn't want to do anything. Didn't want to be on social media as well. That's the big thing.
Mate, social media is it's a motivation killer.
Yeah.
It really does. It saps you of everything. I'm the worst for it. I'll sit on social media and all of a sudden, an hour's gone by.
Yeah, that's too easily done.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, well, let's really just proper kick this off. So, Tom Brookes, welcome to Fear the podcast. I'm just saying, this is the first time we've managed to sit down and have a conversation, really of a social aspect. We know each other through jiu-jitsu, but
that's about it.
Realistically, with whatever's gone on in the world lately, socialising hasn't been a big thing on everyone's mind, and
no, mate, literally
families and all that other shit. So
I barely socialise with the family, let alone friends and jiu-jitsu colleagues.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. I don't even think I know how old you are. Like, where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? All these things.
I'm really boring, quite frankly. I'm only 23, but I grew up in Strood. I still live in Strood. Like, I'm fairly uneventful life up until like maybe the last sort of 6 years.
Yeah.
I went to Strood Academy school. Hated school.
Yeah.
Hated school. But I did find one passion whilst I was there, and I was in my school's first ever rugby fixture, and it was the first time that I'd started playing rugby, and I scored the first ever try for Strood Academy, and I was like, yeah, I could be quite good at this. So I'm still quite passionate about rugby, and I do a lot of that now still. But in school, academically, I was terrible. I hate it. I failed maths 3 times. Like, I'm not good at it.
So what is it about school that you just don't like to be like the sit down educated thing? Or?
So I like to learn, but there's only a specific way that I'll learn, and that's by me doing things.
Yeah.
Paperwork, I hate. My dyslexia, I have dyslexic tendencies anyway, and they like sitting down with a pen and a piece of paper in front of me. I'm like, words are everywhere. Who said what? Like, into the phantom zone, and I'm like gone.
Yeah.
Like maths again, numbers were all over the place for me. Like, it was one of those things that I just could not engage my brain in literature or anything like that. I was quite good at. I'm quite well spoken for my age. Like, I don't. But when it comes to writing things, it's just like, it's hard work.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Like, the school setting definitely isn't for everybody. No. It's one of the things that I think I noticed in our school, the kids who were less academic were able to choose more hands-on things. They had like carpentry and mechanics and things like that. Those weren't even options for me because I could do the academic stuff.
Yeah.
I probably might have liked to do some mechanics. My dad grew up around motorbikes, as did my granddad, so therefore I have. So we've all tinkered and played, and if I'd have learnt mechanics at school, it would have actually probably been really, really helpful.
Yeah.
It was never an option to me. So
that's it. Like in the modern like schools now, it's all very much like you've got physical education, then you've got English, maths, and science, geography, all things like that. But you don't get much like you get design and technology, which is now what they would class as like wood shop or woodwork or carpentry and stuff. But you don't really get to work with much of it for long. Unless you pick it as a subject throughout your GCSEs, you don't really get to focus on it. And it's like, even in like those lower years where you're still learning what you want to do, like there's still not that much option. You don't get to learn too much. It's not, no metalworks now. A lot of schools don't even use metalworks a lot now, I don't think. It makes it hard for you to understand, like, especially if you've got like family that are like tradesmen. Like my dad's a painter and decorator, so art, I'm terrible. Like, but painting, I can paint a wall like easy because I've watched my dad do it and I've tried it, and it's. But even in schools, they don't teach you basic life skills now. It's one of those things.
There's one of the big things I think a lot of people talk about is trying to get kids educated to a life skills standard and trying to move not away from, but to include a lot of life skills in general education, because I don't know, you can see it out on the street. Like, kids don't seem to understand about crossing roads or checking for road safety. As you see a couple of kids on scooters need to plough into a car the other day on the electric scooter thing because they went out of a junction into a main road without even thinking to stop. I was like, surely that life should have been taught at home. But that life skill kind of needs learning, you know.
This thing, like this, everyone says is like the school system's quite outdated, so it doesn't prepare you for what real life is now. Like, there's always the joke of your teachers turn around and say, you're never going to always have a calculator handy. Everyone's walking around with one in their pocket now.
Yeah.
Staring at it all day.
Yeah.
And like,
yes, I've got one. Don't use it. But...
I've never needed it. And I don't need to know how many watermelons Jeffrey's got. Or how many he can give to Eunice.
Yeah. Yeah. How many watermelons have you divided between your 4 friends this week? Didn't buy any bloody watermelons. They could sort themselves out. Cheeky buggers.
Like, honestly, some of the maths questions were weird.
Yeah. Yeah, we're obviously dealing with it now. My daughter's about to go into secondary school this year, so it's all kick off. All about to get crazy in this house. There's going to be some tempers. Some tantrums thrown, I reckon. So, are you from a big family?
Relatively big. So, my dad's side... I think my dad's side's not overly big, but my mum's side I've got about 4 or 5 aunties and uncles. Yeah. So I'm like, a lot of them had kids, some of them haven't. But yeah, like I'm not really a big family person. Like they haven't come. Like my family as it is now is it's me, my sister, my dad. And my mum, and I still look out for my nan. My nan's struggling a bit at the minute. She's having like a lot of medical issues and stuff. Keeps falling over because she can't keep her balance, but it's expected at the age that she is. Yeah. So I always look out for them. If I see my aunts and uncles about, I'll say hi. We go around to my aunt's on New Year's Eve. Yeah. And spend the time with her. And the rest of the family congregate there. It's like Attack of the Clones or something. They all just keep coming, and I'm like, there's more of us. I swear there is.
Some of our biggest Christmas dinners are at sort of 27 people, I think. But it's not like that. Not quite that big anymore. A lot of the extended family have kind of gone off their own ways now. Obviously, as we've grown up and all got our own kids, and there's millions of us Hales and extensions running around now.
Bloodlines.
Yeah, bloody hundreds of us. So you said you've not had very exciting or not much happen in your life, not very eventful, until the past 6 years. So what happened 6 years ago?
So 6 years ago, I got my first job working where I am now. I left and I've gone back last year.
Been there, done that. I'm currently returned back to where I used to work.
But yeah, I started working for Haven as a lifeguard. My first ever job. Very strange being given that, the fact that I was like 16, 17 at the time and I was learning how to save people's lives, I was like a bit daunted by it.
Yeah.
But now it just sort of, I wouldn't like to say it comes second nature to me how to lifeguard, but I've been doing it for like on and off about 6 years now. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's one of them where I'm like, I've passed that point now of like, I really want to keep doing this. Like when I first started doing it, it's fun. I enjoyed the banter that came with it, and camaraderie that comes with like lifeguard skills. But after that, after Haven, my contract ended because it's only seasonal work.
Yeah.
As you know, you've obviously done seasonal work.
Indeed.
So I then started working for Nuffield Health in Medway, and just that was easy for me because it was literally a 15-minute walk from my house. Such an easy thing. But waking up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to get for a 5:30 start is one of them where you're like, oh, I am dead.
Yeah, it takes some getting used to.
Yeah. But I was there for a little while. And then probably to take a more dramatic turn of events. February 20th of 2017, my brother passed away in his sleep.
Okay.
First of what would be a series of events that was quite traumatic for me. At the time, me and my brother used to share a room. And we were I was sat up watching WWE, actually.
Right, okay.
I was watching TV downstairs. I walk upstairs, go in our room. I opened the door. As soon as I opened the door, I used to have the TV on in our room. Me and my brother always did, because we had to fall asleep with some background noise.
Yeah.
And we had a DVD in, can't remember what it was. But the DVD was on the menu and it was playing that fucking same repetitive fucking tune.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just press play and fucking fall asleep. That was about 2 o'clock in the morning. But as I walked into the room, my brother sat up and went, all right? And I went, yeah, go on, I'm just putting the TV on. Go back to sleep. And he laid back down on his side, went back to sleep. I then clambered across into my bed, sit on my phone until like 4:30 in the morning. Like I said, social media, time flies by. It's one of those. And I just sort of put my phone down, fall asleep. I thought, right. And 6 o'clock, my brother's alarm goes off. He used to be a technician at Hollywood Bowl in Strood. He just recently got the job, like a couple of months prior, I believe, like 4 or 5 months prior, I think. And his alarm went off. And it's obviously woke me up because he's not answering it. Woken up, leaned over, shoved him and gone, David, wake up. At which point I then noticed that he's face down in his pillow.
Right.
He's face down in his pillow. I call my mum into the room. She comes bolting in and I say, I can't wake him up. She tries shaking him, waking him. And it's a noise that I'll never forget. It's one of those that I hear it in a quiet room. I'll hear it still ticking over in my head. And my mum screams in the most like blood curdling way, he's dead. And I'm like, instantly I was like, no time for panic. Right. Instantly flipped him over, started CPR, got my mum and dad to phone the police, not the police, the ambulance. I started CPR. My lifeguard trainer just kicked in. I was just like, right, start CPR. About 20, 25 minutes later, I think it was, maybe half an hour later, the ambulance crew turned up. They gave him 3 shocks and they said, no, sorry, it's gone. And they estimated that the time that he died he'd been dead for at least an hour.
Right, okay.
Because rigor mortis had started to set in. He'd gone blue from the lack of oxygen and whatnot. So it always kind of grates on me that in that hour and a half that I'd fallen asleep to the point of his alarm going off and me falling asleep, that hour and a half he'd passed away. And I was like, it's always one of those things that I'm like, if I'd just stayed up a little bit longer, one of those big regrets that I've got. So it's one of them.
Yeah. I can understand why, it's one of the things you never ever could have
No.
predicted. There's even to be awake if he, like you say, just dipped off in his sleep.
He used to. So what it used to be is he used to suffer from seizures
Right.
every now and then. So all we can suspect is that he'd had a seizure during the night. Usually his seizures will wake me up,
Right.
because I can hear him seizing, and I'll wake up, call my parents into the room. They'll deal with it while I go downstairs and try and get some more kip on the sofa. Usually that's how it used to go, but obviously this time I didn't wake up because I was dead beat. It's 4:30 in the morning. I was dead, like I was dead to the world. No pun intended.
Yeah.
I can't help but make a joke of it every now and then. But yeah, he obviously had a seizure and then landed face down in his pillow.
Yeah.
And that's all I can imagine is what happened. And then, yeah, I had to give the police report and stuff, like, about what happened, because obviously it's a murder, not murder. It's like a death in a household.
Yeah.
They have to come and do the basic stuff. They have to take reports and stuff. Yeah, that sort of started my spiral into my drinking, because up until that point, I'd only just recently started drinking. I didn't start drinking until I was just over 18. I
Yeah.
hadn't drunk a single thing. Like, you know how you usually sneak out and have a cheeky one with your mates, like, every now and then, like,
Yeah.
sitting in a park drinking Special Brew or something, like some hobo.
Yeah.
You do that. I never did that. I was like, and at that point, I just started to drink, like, not heavily, but after that, after his funeral, I just started drinking more and more. Started going to Tappington a lot. Made a lot of my friends that I have now from Tappington.
Yeah.
My friend Russell, he knew my brother. They went to school together. We still get along like house on fire, and we met in Tappington. The day of my brother's funeral, I went to my brother's funeral. I went, I need to go out tonight. I need to clear my head. I need to get fucking smashed.
Yeah.
And got absolutely smashed with a few of my friends that had come to the funeral and that. But yeah, I just started spiraling downwards. Leads on to another traumatic event, in fact. So I started to see this girl who used to work at Tappington. I'm not going to say her name because it's not my place to say.
Yeah.
But me and her, we got together. We were like quite close. She had a kid. Now, I've never wanted kids. I've never ever wanted kids. But I thought, I've fallen head over heels for this girl. I'm gonna make time for the kid as well. And I started really like falling in love with this kid, like the same way as I was starting to fall in love with her. But then I realised that I was kind of being manipulated a lot. I was like manipulated into missing out on work because her mental health was bad. And at this point, my mental health was getting worse and worse. And I ended things over a text because I tried breaking up with her face to face, and her reaction to that was no. She literally point blank just stared at me and went, no. And I was like, okay, I don't think that's how this works, but yeah. But then, yeah, we then stayed together for another couple of months. Got engaged. That was me. So that's a funny story. So I proposed to her to end an argument. And that is not the way to end an argument. That was fully because... So I'd caught her messaging some other guy, sending him pictures and stuff. I confronted her about it. I gave her the benefit of doubt. Left it. I then started messaging somebody else that I worked with at the time. That got a bit too far. She found out. Same thing. But she was not letting it go. Kept going on about it. And I eventually just went, right, do you know what? Will you marry me? And that was how I ended the argument.
Smart.
Don't do that, kids. But yeah, that ended the argument for now. But then I just realised sort of a couple of months later, I was at an all-time low. I couldn't function. I broke down at work, and to a couple of the people that were in the office, and they literally said, "You need to cut this off. Look at what it's doing to you." And yeah, that was the day I cut it off. She then tried to. So she then tried to overdose.
Right.
The same time, like that day, which made me feel fucking dreadful.
Yeah.
Went round to her place because I had the spare key. She was up to the hospital at this point, and I thought, this is probably what's best. She's not here. I can just gather my things and go, and just distance myself, and see if I can message, like, stay. But there was no staying civil. That was in August of 2009. Was it 19? Yes, 2019. I was in that relationship, I think. Oh God, the years just blend into one at this point.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I said, the last 6 years is the only like thing, so it all just blends together. But yeah, that was in August. I was out October 28th, I think it was, and I was out just having a few drinks on my own down at Poco Loco, and my mum phones me and she's going, "Where are you?" I went, "I'm at Poco Loco," and she went, "Well, the police are here." I'm like, "Right," and they handed the phone. I was like, "Hi Thomas, just wondering whereabouts you are," and I said, "I'm in Poco Loco down in Chatham High Street." And he went, "Oh, you're going to be there for the next sort of 20 minutes, 30 minutes? I went, yeah, that's, I'll be here." And so I was sat outside waiting, having another drink, obviously thinking, what the fuck's this all about? They pull up 45 minutes later. Always punctual.
Yeah,
punctual as
keeping.
always. And I was like, I just finished my drink, luckily. They say, "Oh, can we just have a word with you in the back of the car?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Sit in the back of the car. And they go, "Right, so from now you're under arrest on suspicion of rape."
Right.
And I'm like, "Okay." They take me in. I get processed through. Yeah, just get processed through that. Spent a night in the cells. First time for everything, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, they interview me the next morning. Tell me that she's accused me of an incident that happened back in May.
Right.
Apparently. And I then sort of said, well, if this incident occurred back in May, you'll see that in the timeline of even going through our social media, it shows that we got engaged in June or July.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, we've had to seize your phone and all this and take it as evidence and whatnot." And they put me out on bail for a month. Came to the end of the month where I had to go back in to renew my bail, and they phoned me up the day before and they go, "Oh, we don't need you to come back in. We're letting you off bail, but you are still under investigation, and we can call you in at any time. And if you fail to appear at a certain time, obviously we'll get a warrant for arrest and stuff like that." So that was in like, November 27th. I got that phone call. June of next year, the 15th, I get a phone call. Again from Kent Police. They say, "Hi Thomas, we're just letting you know that we're not proceeding with the investigation any longer. But if any new evidence does come to light, then the case may be reopened. But for now, that you can come and collect your phone and whatnot." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And at that point, I was like, this massive wash of like absolute relief.
Yeah.
Like, because in those months of like, I'm sitting in limbo. I can't do anything because I'm like, if I move job, like, would it look bad? Like, what can I do? And it's one of those where you're like stuck, can't move. Yeah.
So you think she'd do that out of spite for you leaving her?
Yeah.
Just
Pure don't even know how to explain. Just rage and pure anger, I think.
Yeah.
Pettiness to an extent. But yeah, that's all I can really think about. That's what caused it. But yeah.
So when we jump back a little bit then to when you started drinking after the death of your brother.
Yeah.
How did you find, like, did the alcohol help in any way, or what was it that the alcohol was doing for you that you keep going back to?
It's that numbing feeling.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of, well, so long as I'm drinking, nothing can hurt me. If you know what it's like, it's when you've had enough to drink, you start feeling less pain.
Yeah.
And I've started to realise that if I drank so much, I'd start feeling less emotional pain because I was losing complete control of my sense.
Yeah.
So I was like, but then I started to realise I didn't like that person that I was when I was drinking, but I'd got myself into this cycle that I needed it to continue going through. Like I said, when I entered into that relationship, I was able to crush like a full 20 crate every day,
right.
if I wanted to, and if I could, if it was about, I was drinking it.
Yeah.
And that's how bad my drinking got. So yeah, it's that numbing feeling of not having to deal with the world.
Yeah.
Like everything melts away when you're pissed out your nut, passed out on a fucking floor, like throwing it up into the bathroom the next day and then going out and doing it again.
Yeah. Have you ever found any other sort of coping methods for dealing with, the pain of your brother and stuff?
That was when I started smoking as well.
Yeah.
Started smoking. That I like I said, I quit that last year, and then stress came about again, and it cropped back up. So I'm still doing that now, but on the right track to start quitting that at some point in the near future. But smoking is just it. My mates used to smoke all the time, and I just went one day. I went when we were out. I went, give me a fag, and they went, you sure? Like those proper don't, if we're not pressuring you, just want to make sure. I'm like, just give me one. I was half cut, and I just I've never smoked a cigarette in my life, so I literally went blew it straight back out again. Not how you smoke a cigarette, and he's looking at me like, that's not how you do it. I'm like, okay. But practice makes perfect, I guess, and that was what happened. I just kept smoking more and more. Yeah, like that was a coping mechanism for me. But I found recently, like my biggest coping mechanism is my jiu-jitsu. It's why I came back after all of this stress and all this. I needed to get back to something that I knew was good for me.
Yeah.
Because when I was doing it when I was younger, I started doing. I always wanted to be a pro wrestler. At one point, through my years, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. Watching WWE, I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And that's how I got started. I started doing a pro wrestling class when I was about 12, and it started evolving into okay, cool, this is cool. And then we started doing this shoot fights,
right?
And it was submission fighting. I was like, okay, and then I started getting pretty good at it, and I was like, okay, I'm doing okay. And then I started branching more into that, and at which point I moved towards a wrestling background and started wrestling a bit more, and then moved to jiu-jitsu after that, and I kept up all of that up until I was about 17, 18, and I stopped that, and only recently went back. What was it? Tail end of 2020.
Yeah,
I think it was. I went back. Obviously with Coach Ben,
yeah.
Our mutual. This is where our mutual commonality is, if that's a word.
So what is it you find about the jiu-jitsu? Is it routine? Is it the mental, the mental battle and struggle that it is? Is it the fitness aspect that sort of shuts everything else out?
It's that escape, knowing that when I come in there, when I step through those doors, I know that I'm not being judged. Yeah. I don't have somebody over my shoulder telling me that I'm no good at something. I don't have all these negative thoughts. Yes, I sometimes come into the jiu-jitsu with a bad mood or like I feel down, but every time when I leave, I always feel better.
Yeah.
Like because I feel myself like loosening up. I can feel my muscles like just all that tension slowly washing away, and it's so interesting watching it, like watching my transformation. Because I'll sometimes catch myself in the mirror and I'll be like, I wasn't smiling when I came in. I can see myself starting to smile now.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things. Is I catch myself looking in my reflection every now and then, and I'll catch myself and I'm like, okay, this is good for me. This is really good.
Yeah.
Rugby has also done that for me as well. Like rugby is one of those where I think the jiu-jitsu helps in the I can hurt, like not hurt, but like train in an environment and be safe and stuff, and in a way get my aggression out. But rugby is one of those where I have to be aggressive, and I can get all that anger and frustration throughout the week and just absolutely leather somebody. And look, that's always a good feeling for me. But jiu-jitsu, I always say that rugby is the thing that helped me find my aggression, but jiu-jitsu is what helped me control it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you on that. When I was, I don't know, maybe 13, 14, I started playing rugby. And I found a lot of relief in rugby from tackling people.
Yeah.
You know, I was struggling at school, and I had a lot of self-doubt, a lot of anger, a lot of sort of misery at school. But majority of the people in the rugby field, pitch, whatever, rugby club, weren't people I knew at school, and they were a separate group of people to all the kids I had issues with or whatever.
Yeah.
So at the weekends I got to crash into people, and that was those little bits of aggression that got let out. The stupid thing was I was still so tiny, and I probably said this before, but I was so tiny. I played for the team that was 2 years younger than me, and we had a guy on our team who had like full moustache and everything at 14 years old. All of the coaches and the ref would be like, hey, he's too old. That kid is definitely not like 14. And I'm sitting there like, I'm 16. No one dares question me because I'm so bloody tiny. But I think I ended up getting to a point where I was crashing into so many people and doing well at it. I got put into like fullback position. And I absolutely loved it because I got to look at people who were running, and they could look at me and see me coming towards them, think, look at this tiny little pathetic man. And I can see it in their eyes when I'm running towards them.
I've got to break you.
I just smash into these people, and, you know.
They'd fall over and you're like, yes.
Push them into the crowd. And I had an absolute blast doing that. But let's say, got those little bits of aggression out that was probably really, really good for me at the time.
Yeah.
Well, I stopped playing when I was 16. I do have an award upstairs, I think, for under 15 most improved player, and I was 16 years old. but yeah, rugby does that for you. It's a team thing. I found a lot since I don't do very well in team sports. I'm much more of a solo person, like with the skating, BMX, mountain biking, snowboarding, all those solo things where you don't get to disappoint anybody else but yourself.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the same now in jiu-jitsu. I've always been, since about 9 years old, involved in some sort of martial art.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu for me has become my solo kind of hobby since 2018, I think.
Yeah.
October 2018.
Deep in the brain box thinking about that one.
What I say, the last few years have all rolled into one with whatever's gone on.
Yeah.
We lost a whole year in the middle of everything. But yeah, 2018 I've done jiu-jitsu again, and it is, you go in that room, the egos most of the time are not there.
Yeah.
Everyone's on sort of not a level playing field, but everyone's there for the same reason.
Yeah. They all want to learn.
Yeah, to learn, to improve their skills, their fitness, their strength.
Yeah.
And, you know, we built a pretty good team full of very, very unusual individuals. And
people you wouldn't, very unassuming, aren't we? You look at some of us and you think, wouldn't do much. And
Well,
then
misfits. Jiu-jitsu, I think, generally is just full of misfits.
Yeah.
People who want that controlled violence, but also the technical aspect of it. There's so much to learn. You could suck all day long and get beaten up all day long, but you
still keep coming back.
keep coming back for more, and it's great. So, are you finding then sort of setting yourself a goal with jiu-jitsu is helping to make you want to get rid of these vices of the smoking and the alcohol, or was it something else that kicked it off?
So the thing that made me stop drinking was she's gonna hate me for mentioning her, but my new girlfriend, she's a nurse, and she deals with like people on detoxes and stuff, and people that have completely fucked their livers up and stuff. This was the main reason why I stopped drinking, because she was getting worried, because it got to the point like last year where I was again, I was in a work. I was in a job yet again I didn't want to do. I started slipping back into that, and I tallied it up, and on an average week I was consuming about 60, 70 pints a week.
Yeah,
and I was like, this is bad.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I need to, and she was just like, I'm really worried about you. Like, you need to slow down. And I'm like, and I just was like, okay, yeah, like I see what you mean. And jiu-jitsu was like my filler for that. It was like a case of, well, that's like, I missed out on 2 comps, missed out on Brighton, and I had to miss out on grappling industries this year as well because I haven't been able to train. And I was like, okay, like that's it, no more. I'm not pulling myself from anything else now. If I'm signed up for something, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
I need to focus, and this has become my key focus now, is being able to train. Like, training is what's keeping me grounded. It's what's making me want to stay off the drink. So she was the initial kickstart, and she's made me like, and she still is a really big part of me staying off the drink. Like, but training is really just that thing that's gone, stop.
Yeah.
No more. I stopped drinking. I went out on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, so 1, 2 in the morning I stopped drinking. So I technically count as New Year's Day I stopped drinking. So up until then I I went cold turkey. Just went, no more drinking. And don't get me wrong, every day I'm tempted just to go, I want a beer. But I found that like the low percent like the 0% alcohol, not even that they're 0%, 0.05% alcohol in them. They're a good substitute, and people are like, oh, I don't know how you can drink that stuff. I'm like, it just tastes like beer.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I didn't drink in those late stages. I didn't drink alcohol because it helped me forget anything. It was just a case of I quite like the taste.
Yeah.
And I've always been a beer drinker, so it's a case of I can knock them back quite easily. But now I've got to this point now, and I'm like, I'm going to continue through and only drink when it's special occasion.
Yeah.
And it won't be a lot. But yeah, I'm feeling better for it because I'm training more. I'm not missing out on things because my head hurts. I've drank too much. I feel like a fucking shell of myself.
Yeah.
And it's one of those. I'm feeling a lot better.
Good. You say that both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Just not having it.
Yeah.
Do you find like drinking that amount during the week like made you aggressive at all, or like extra down rather than helping?
In those later stages of like last year, I've discovered that it was like it's sort of. So I started my job back at Haven last year as a lifeguard again, feeling yet again like I've taken a back step. Because obviously in that time I'd done security work, I'd done some like grounds maintenance work, I'd done all different bits. And I've gone back to lifeguard, and I'm like, oh, I feel like a fucking failure again. And that was sort of the trigger where I started that downward spiral again. And I started drinking again. And it was just like at that stage of August where I got pulled from Brighton. Brighton. I got pulled from. I pulled myself from. I realised that this is not right. I'm sacrificing my training because of this.
Yeah.
Like I could feel myself at work as well. Like if I didn't have a beer or something, I was getting really like quite snappy with people, and people had noticed.
Yeah.
And in a customer facing environment, you can't have that. But yeah, it was. I started getting snappy. I started having really low days.
Yeah. So I just checking, it's still going.
Yeah.
Still all there. We've got a red blinking light over there, and we've got a waveform over there. We're all good. Although I made that cardinal sin of not plugging the laptop in, which is always helpful. And pausing.
Boom.
Yeah, okay. So everything's back recording. That's on the go. That's on the go. Everything
Back
is
here
good
with
to go.
part 2.
And we're back in the room. So where do we leave that then? So talking about jiu-jitsu, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how that's sort of helping you get grounded. And you've seen about how much you were drinking. So your new girlfriend has been like, look, I need you to stop this. I need you to cut it out. I'm worried about you.
Yeah.
You're like, cool, I can do that. I'll focus on my jiu-jitsu. Have you say you've obviously felt the difference with your jiu-jitsu. Is it like a mental clarity thing? Is it fitness?
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Like right now, like when I was drinking so much, I was like sometimes I just would not pick things up. I'd feel sluggish. Like I'd get annoyed at myself as well. I'm like, I know this. I've done all of this before. I know how to do it. But my body was just like, nah, not having that. I'm not having that, mate. Nah, you're not doing that. I'm like, but now I feel like I'm moving a bit sharper. I'm a bit quicker. I'm lighter on my feet. I'm a bit more like my fitness is. I'll tell you what, my fitness lately is just it's tenfold above what it was.
Yeah.
Like you know what it was like when you rolled with me. Like we'd roll and like you get top position. I'll be like, end my suffering, please. I'm dead.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good to have a reason to or something to hold on to that can pull you away from that, which is great. And you're doing so well with it at the minute. Like I said, having not drank since New Year, I know see some people really fucking struggle with it. Yeah. But I think having that thing like jiu-jitsu, so a place to go where you are sort of held accountable for yourself, and in another sense that you can notice the difference as well. It's got to feel a lot easier to continue to not drink. It's like actually this improvement is so much more beneficial than the 20 pints.
Yeah, like that. It's productive alternative. That's really what it was. And it was like, and just the fact that I can see my improvement through my jiu-jitsu is just, it's such a motivator for me. I'm like, okay, and I know it's going to get to a point where, I'm thinking it's probably going to happen around the 3-4 month mark where, I'll start to feel like I'm a bit sluggish again, where I'm like, okay, so that initial buzz of like having cut the alcohol out has sort of died off now. I'm starting to slow down a bit, but that's the point where I'll have that mental challenge where I'll go, but you don't need to drink still.
Yeah.
You still, if you go back to it, you'll know you will get worse.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm going to have to push through that mental block and go, no, I stick with it. I keep doing what I'm doing.
Have you ever, like this is something I've been talking a bit about recently, but have you ever spoken to like a professional about what happened with your brother and how you felt about your should have stayed awake longer?
So when I worked at Nuffield Health, they had a thing called occupational health because they're in partnership with the hospitals and they like obviously privatised hospital and stuff. And they had occupational health, which they had licensed therapists that you could call and they would try and help you out. But try and talk over a phone can't convey what you're talking about. But I've always been one of these. I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
I don't need help. Like even though full well I know I do, but like it's a case of I'm not gonna sit there in a room with somebody and talk openly about something. It's just not something I can't bring myself to do that. I'm just like I can talk freely about it.
Yeah.
Like I said, like we only know each other through jiu-jitsu, but I'm still quite openly talking about it now. But It's when they start going, so why do you feel that way? Why do you think this is causing that? And I'm like, I don't know. That's why I'm paying you. Just tell me. Like, please, just tell me why you think I'm just feeling this way. And but it's always going to be that case for me is like I need to get past that mental block of myself. I am my own worst enemy.
Yeah.
My head just doesn't want to accept help, and it took me a good since it's happened. This is the first time that I can actually feel positive.
Yeah.
Like this is the first time I feel truly positive. I have good things going on. I have my jiu-jitsu. I'm enjoying work now. I have a more regimented work. So I work 8 till 5, Monday to Friday. That's such a good I get paid every 2 weeks. I know when my money's coming in. I know how much is there. I know what I can do. I have a girlfriend that's really supportive. She every time I say I'm going to jiu-jitsu, she's never, oh, why are you going to that? Oh, I wanted to stay up and chat. She's like, all right, cool. I'll see you. I'll talk to you when you get back.
Yeah.
She's not one that's gonna say, oh, I want to spend some more time together. She's one for, I support everything you're doing. When I go and play rugby games, she's always good luck and hope you have a good time. Even she works, like I said, she's a nurse and she wakes up at 4 a.m, has a shower and everything, gets ready, goes to work to start 7:30 in the morning till 7:30 at night. And every time she'll send me a message in the morning, on a Saturday when she's working, she'll send it at 6 o'clock in the morning. She'll go, hope you have a good day. I hope rugby goes well, or I hope jiu-jitsu goes well, whatever I'm doing that day. And she's just those little things that I've never really had before where I'm somebody's actually being supportive of me.
Yeah.
Something I've never really had from past relationships. They've always been a bit oh no, I want to spend more time with you. Why do you have to train so much? I'm because it's good for this.
Yeah.
It's good for my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you know what? Having someone at home that can support your goals or your ambitions is, I think, extremely important and extremely helpful. Like you say, with bad relationships, that whole, like you said, manipulating to oh, but can you? And but I need this, and for me, so martial arts for me has been a part of my life for a long time. As a kid with kung fu, into MMA, into kickboxing, into now jiu-jitsu. Yeah. I've mostly, with breaks in between, for the past nearly 30 years, been doing some sort of martial art. And when there's a break in it, I get down. Yeah. So I need to be doing something, because what else to do? Yeah. So it's again, when the world went upside down, you couldn't go train. It was now what the fuck else do I do?
You feel just trapped, don't you? Just it's that. Some days there's not enough hours in the day, and there's some days that there's too many. And during that period of lockdown, there were too many hours in the day. Yeah. You're sitting there in your own thoughts. You can't go out. You can't do anything. You can't go see family. You can't go see friends. You're sitting there with your thoughts all day. And you probably know best as anyone, sitting at home with your thoughts all day, it's dangerous. Yeah. It's one of those where you either start spending money you don't have. Yeah. You start having stupid thoughts, or you start you start fucking around.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people say whilst the world was upside down trying to do at-home training and stuff. And we did little bits with the kids to try and keep them active in the mornings, get up, do some exercise, all that jazz. But it didn't last long. We all got fed up with it. It's just, there's only so many times you can stand in front of your TV and do a workout, and then get the kids to do their homeschooling and all that. It was hard work. I'm glad to be back out at the gym, and you've got to have something for yourself that isn't home based. Yeah. That isn't wife, kids based.
It's the escape, isn't it?
But it's having your own identity still. That's what's important. And you say when you've got someone who's manipulating you away from your identity, it's not helpful. No. But no, the only reason I asked about whether or not you'd spoken to a professional is just something that I've been toying with recently. I say having these conversations I've found really helpful, and that's the conversation I've got coming up soon, which I'm looking forward to. That'll also be super helpful
Yeah.
And that, in theory, in my mind, is a lot of my therapy is having opened up about a lot of my problems, shared other people's problems, and spoke to a lot of the people that have been a part of my problems, has opened up like a different aspect of how I saw everything.
Yeah.
But that was just curious, if you managed to speak to anyone and sort of how it went, because I'm contemplating doing it. Not that I think I need it anymore,
No.
but just to see if there's like a reason why I felt the way I did, or the way you twist your memories the way you do.
Yeah.
Because I've found that a lot, is that a lot of your memories aren't necessarily 100% clear or correct, or
that you got that like Mandela effect of like memories. Like
Yeah.
you remember something in one way, and somebody might remember it a completely different way, and you never know which one's going to be right.
No,
Because,
and there was something, I can't remember where I heard it, but every time you remember a memory, you only remember you remember how you sort of twisted it that time,
yeah,
and how you made it that time. So every time that memory kind of
it distorts
is
itself.
something else.
Yeah,
So think like 30 years worth of memories that you could have twisted and warped and created different pathways out
scenarios
of.
and
It's all about how you've perceived the situation rather than necessarily what actually happened. And then you've twisted those memories for years and years and years.
Yeah.
But I'm finding these conversations really, really helpful for me, and hopefully so other people I talk to do also. And people listening, I'm hoping that that they find something from it for each of these little like issues that we all kind of share. We all got our little problems from something somewhere.
This is sort of the reason why I wanted to come on and do it, because like obviously I know you started the podcast, and I toyed with the idea when you first brought it. I was like, I could go on and talk about stuff. I could tell people about how bad my life is or all the shit that I've gone through and stuff. But it's not a case of I want people to feel sympathetic for me. Or I don't want them to feel like oh, I know what you've been through. I can sympathise and all this. I don't want that. I want to more educate people on the fact that it does get to a point where you will realise that things can be better.
Yeah.
And I've only just realised it. It's taken me 6 years to realise, 5-6 years to realise that not everything is shit. Like, you do have positives that go on in your life. And just because something negative is happening to you right now doesn't mean it's always going to last. The only thing that can last is you. Like how you react to that situation and how you get past it. That's the only thing that's going to change.
Yeah. I think I think that has been the reason for a lot of this is, I had a really, really shit time, as had many of the people that I've spoken to. And most of the people have managed to find a way to cope or find a way to be happier, a new goal, a new reason for being that can separate you from all of that. And everybody's trauma is different, and everyone's going to find their own way out in their own time. And not everyone will be able to find the answers that easily, and not just by speaking to people. Sometimes you have to find it for yourself.
You need to find out what works for you. Right.
Yeah, and I'd say I'm finding that talking is great for me.
Yeah.
I had some emotional conversations. As per, like say, I've got a conversation coming up soon with my former school bully, which I'm really looking forward to.
I look forward to listening to it.
But even that, the conversation we had catching up with each other was emotional for, I think, both of us. And so it's only going to get worse when we sit down face to face.
Sobbing on the sofa like,
I'm sorry! And it is, as it turns out, it is a two-way street. So that'd be interesting to get into depths of that one, and hopefully
it's going to be, like I said, it's always good to see from other people's perspective. Like I know that when I was at my lowest point, I was so close to just checking out.
Yeah.
And this was back when I was living on my own. Like, so I moved out for about 6-7 months into a small fucking, they called it a studio flat. It was a room.
Yeah.
It was a room with a bog, and that was what it was. And I was sitting there. It's like, and it was just at that start of the lockdowns, and I was sitting at home, just sitting there, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, all these thoughts and everything was just packed up in my head, and I couldn't get rid of them. And I know my mum's probably going to either listen to this or watch this, and my mum and dad are probably going to, because they don't know about this, but same as a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
I think there's only like 2 people that know. But one day I was sitting there. I was just sitting there. And I had a belt that was sat like just on leaning over my armchair. I just picked it up, put it, like tied it in some fashion around the light bulb in my room, and made a noose out of it near enough. And I was standing there. I had it round there. I had it round my neck. I was standing on the chair. I was thinking, this is it. And then just as I was about to go, there was a knock on the door. I instantly take it off, take it down, throw it down the side of my bed, open the door. It's my mum.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, just coming to like see if you wanted to come to ours for dinner. And I was like, yeah, all right. Yeah. And you just go to default mode. Yeah, all right. I'll just like change clothes and come with you and that. Never mentioned it before afterwards.
Yeah.
I've never brought it up. I've mentioned it to maybe 2 people at most, I think. And that's a big thing for me. Is like that I'd got to that point of I'm going to check out. I'm done with this. And it was at that point that I realised, like, no, I need to refocus. I need to find something that's going to get my energy back into that thing.
Yeah.
Because at the time there was no rugby, there was no jits. Video game could only do so much.
Yeah.
Like I just needed to find something that was there, and so I threw myself into work, picking up extra shifts as much as I could, doing as much like because I was still working at Nuffield at the time, and this is like the tail end of it. Like it was right at the beginning where it was sort of, oh, we going to lockdown? Are we not? Like that area, and I was like, and I just threw myself into work, and then when work got taken away, I was like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do now? And so I just wallowed, and luckily in that period of then I managed to move back home.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing I did, because otherwise I don't think we'd probably be having this conversation. So yeah, I'm glad that the series of events happened in that way. But I know that I'm mending myself now.
Yeah.
I know that I'm never going to get to that point again. Like in my head, I never want to get back to that point again.
Yeah. With like the quickly hiding everything, do you think that's embarrassment?
It's shame.
Yeah.
Pure unbridled shame, and the fact that, because in that moment I thought, I didn't know who was behind that door.
No.
But I did at the same time. I was like, I know that's going to be my mum.
Yeah.
I know it is. So I threw it away, and I was like, and then I thought about it whilst I was just sitting there having dinner at home. I was sitting there. I was just thinking, they've already lost one son. What would that do to my family if they'd lost me as well?
Yeah.
And that pure shame and like not even embarrassment, just pure guilt that overruled everything else. Like thinking I was going to do that to them was just it crushed me. Like I instantly lost my appetite when that thought came into my head. I was halfway through dinner just eating, and then stopped. I was like, not hungry.
Yeah.
Like, and gave up. And I decided to sleep at theirs that night. And it was fucking shit.
Yeah.
It's fucking shit.
Yeah. No, I imagine it was. So remember being at that point, being a lot younger though. So like, I suppose the mental process of that, mine was a lot of like, so and so will miss me. I'll miss so and so. I wouldn't be able to miss anybody because I wouldn't know about it. But I'll upset my granddad. I'll miss my granddad, and I'll upset so and so. Thankfully for me, I had those thoughts. And it's that life can move on so drastically from that moment, as you're finding, now you find it clarity of mind and not drinking anymore, having a supporting partner to encourage you, to lift you up, all those things that can be so much better than your lowest lows. And it is opening up and speaking about it, finding someone who does give a shit. Because there always is, and I think no matter how much you think there isn't, there always is. There's always someone to care.
There really is. I don't think I'll ever come across. I felt lost. Like that was it. That was what it was. And luckily, people managed to find me, and I found myself through them helping me. Like, and it wasn't big gestures like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy you dinner. I'm gonna do this." It was "You're right, mate."
Yeah.
And that was all it took for me to start opening up to people. After that instant, I was like, okay, I'm not all right. And they listened and they supported me. Obviously, like my best friend, his name's Martin, but I always call him Bambi. Only time I ever call him Martin is if I'm pissed off at him or if he's done something wrong. And so he was called Bambi because he fucking fell over ice skating.
Right, okay.
Classic.
Yeah.
But he's got 2 little girls now that I'm going to be the godfather to now. And I'm thinking, now I have that to hang on to too as well. Like, I'm going to be there for them. I'm going to, like I said, I've never wanted kids. I still don't. But knowing that I have them there, knowing that I don't want to leave them. It's not a case of I can't. I don't want to. Like, I don't want to leave them and then one day grow up and go, what happened to Uncle Tom? And him having to sit there and explain that to his 2 little girls.
Yeah.
That would kill me. Like, well, wouldn't kill me. Like,
not again.
Bit far. But yeah, but the thought of that kills me as it is. But yeah. So yeah. I told you this would be a good episode.
Well, it's like you've had a lot going on, man. It's a lot to unbox as well, in a short period of time. I've said before, if you ever need to have a conversation, have a chat about anything, I'm always all ears. I'm ready to listen and take on some of that
and record it.
Yeah. I mean, it's an added bonus. We get to share these things, but it's hopefully to highlight that you can find a way out. Set yourself goals. Find people who can support you and open up and talk to people. So I would say I appreciate you coming here and talking to me.
Yeah, man.
It's been good and insightful. Let's say, obviously known for a while that there's something you're not particularly happy about and there's things going on, but to not know, not know you on a personal level now I know a bit more, and it feels
we're more connected.
Blood brothers. So next year we'll just I'll put you to sleep in jiu-jitsu next time. With the
Chris, that joke's a bit tight.
Okay,
this is for that podcast.
But you have any advice and you'd like to give for somebody who's going through a similar thing, be that like alcohol abuse or?
My advice would be to just know your worth. Know that people are going to miss you if you go somewhere. Know that you are worth more than what you think. Like, your brain's going to be unkind to you, but it can also be the greatest tool you've got. It can force you to do something great things. And I'm discovering that every day. And I hope that people just reach out, talk to people, be kind to people. Be kind and just spread the love, man.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much for coming down, and I look forward to rolling around with you some more jiu-jitsu, and we'll do this again in the future.
Nice.
Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers.